Hi everyone, my name is Hiba Khan, and today I want to talk about something that I think a lot of people struggle with but don't always openly talk about, and that's overthinking, stress, and managing your own mental health. Recently, I gave birth to my baby girl about 5 weeks ago, and that experience really made me more aware of my own mental patterns, especially how much I tend to overthink. So, in this video, I'm not just sharing my personal experience, but also connecting it to what I've learned in developmental psychology. My goal is to help anyone who feels stuck in their own thoughts, overwhelmed, or mentally drained, and to show that there are actually practical ways to manage it. Right now, I'm in early adulthood, which is a stage where a lot is happening: career, relationships, responsibilities, and for me now, parenting multiple children. I have two very energetic boys, a 5-year old and a 3-year old, and now a baby girl. I am also a first grade teacher and was told at 2 weeks postpartum that I will need to be moving to second grade next year. So that is also added stress to my plate. And then having the responsibilities of just managing everyday life. Adding a newborn into the mix completely changed my daily life. My sleep schedule changed, my routine became unpredictable, and mentally I just felt like I was constantly on. What I didn't expect was how much this would affect my thoughts. I started overthinking more, worrying more, and feeling more mentally overwhelmed than usual. This made me realize that mental health isn't something that just stays stable. It can shift depending on what's happening in your life. It's important to actively take care of your mental health, not just assume it'll fix itself. So, my main goal is to share the strategies that really worked for me to manage mental health, especially during postpartum, which is even more crucial during this time. So, let's get into talking about my challenges, my own journey, and what really helped me, and some tips I can share from my own experience that helped me, and that might also help you if you are struggling with overthinking and stress. My main challenge was overthinking. I would constantly replay past situations in my head and wonder if I said the wrong thing or could I have said something better. At the same time, I would also worry about the future, things that hadn't even happened yet, like packing up my classroom once my maternity leave ends and moving everything to a new classroom. I am also extremely OCD, so when it comes to having things done a certain way and how things are organized, those are very important for me. Sometimes I just stare at one object because it's not arranged the way I like it to be. Because of this, I also noticed some OCD like thought patterns where I felt like I needed to mentally figure everything out or feel like I need to mentally solve everything or be in control of every outcome. I also think postpartum triggered my OCD more because I was not able to do the same routines and things I was used to doing and really wanted my house to look a certain way at the end of the day. And of course, after having my baby, this got worse because of things like lack of sleep, hormones, and just the pressure of being responsible for another human, plus my two other children who very much still need me. It was also harder for my 3-year old, who was the baby of the family, and within a day, he was now the big brother. And for him, it was also a big shift with the changes he didn't understand. And honestly, this got worse after having my baby. Between the lack of sleep, hormonal changes, and just the pressure of being responsible for another life, my mind was just constantly active. It felt exhausting, like I couldn't fully relax even when I had the chance. At first, I tried to just stop thinking so much. I would tell myself, just don't think about it. But that didn't work at all. If anything, it made it worse. It made me think about it even more. The turning point for me was realizing that my thoughts are just thoughts and not facts. Just because something pops into my mind doesn't mean it's true or even important. Also, realizing no one else cares about something that happened weeks ago, months ago, or even years ago. And no matter what the past is, it can't be changed. even if it's like the smallest thing, like forgetting to do a father daughter dance at my wedding, or why didn't I say this instead of that during a past conversation. Once I started recognizing my thought patterns instead of fighting them, I was able to pause and not spiral. And that was a big turning point for me. And even though it didn't fix everything overnight, those small moments of awareness made a huge difference over time. What really helped me understand what was going on was connecting it to psychology. Cognitive theory explains that our thoughts directly influence how we feel and behave. So, if I'm constantly thinking negative or stressful thoughts, it makes sense that I would feel overwhelmed. Bandura's theory talks about how our thoughts, environment, and behaviors all influence each other. So, my stress from having a newborn was affecting my thinking, which then affected how I reacted. Bronfenbrenner's theory also explains how life changes, like becoming a parent, can impact your developmental and stress levels. So for me, my environment changed. I had a newborn, less sleep, more responsibility, and that affected my thoughts, which then affected again how I reacted emotionally. All of this helped me realize that nothing was wrong with me. I was just reacting to a big life change. Once I understood what was happening, I started trying different strategies. First, I started cognitive behavioral therapy, which is being able to refrain my thoughts. Instead of thinking, what if everything goes wrong? I would tell myself I'm doing the best I can right now. It also helped and reminded myself that if I can overthink the worst, then I can certainly overthink the best. Shifting the mindset is important, like telling myself my classroom will be packed and ready to go, and moving to second grade will be a positive change for me. It may not be the best timing, but it will be a refreshing change I didn't realize I needed myself. Second, I practice mindfulness, just focusing on the present moment. Even something simple like taking a few deep breaths help me slow down my thoughts. Third, I created routines, but I kept them flexible. With a newborn, nothing is predictable, so I had to let go of perfection. And honestly, one of the most important things was learning to be kinder to myself. I stopped expecting to handle everything perfectly. And what's interesting is that I started using these strategies with others, especially in my role as a teacher and a parent. For example, when a child gets overwhelmed or frustrated, instead of reacting, I model calm, behavior and guide them through it, which is something I did for my own son who told me he had a hard time calming down. He also has similar OCD patterns like I do, which I can clearly see he inherited from me. So I can definitely use similar strategies I use for myself for him as well. This connects to the Bandura's idea that people learn by observing others and Vygotsky's idea that we learn through guidance and support. And it made me realize that emotional regulation is something we all learn over time, not just kids, but adults too. Some of the biggest things I learned from this experience are you can't control every thought, but you can control how you respond to it. Awareness is the first step to change. Once you notice your patterns, you can start shifting them. And growth takes time. It's not instant. It's not something that happens overnight. And honestly, the most challenging moments are actually the ones that help you grow the most. If you're dealing with overthinking or stress, here are a few simple things that can help. Write your thoughts down instead of keeping them in your head. I use what I call a digital journal, which is basically the notes and reminders app on the phone. My phone was always handy, and it was just easy to write or text out things in my head so I can come back to them later. It really helped me put my thoughts aside so I can come back to those thoughts later and live in the moment. This also really allowed me to be present for my kids. Again, just living in the moment and coming back to the things to do list later was really helpful. Another tip is to ask yourself, is this thought actually helpful? If it's causing harm, like stressing you out and giving you that unwanted headache you really do not need, then get it out of your head and tell yourself it really isn't worth thinking about. Focus on what you can control, not what you can't. Again, remembering to overthink the best thoughts instead of the worst ones. And give yourself permission to rest. Rest is not being lazy, it's necessary. And most importantly, talk to someone. You don't have to go through it alone. At the end of the day, mental health is something we have to actively work on, especially during big life changes. This experience taught me that it's okay to feel overwhelmed sometimes, but it's also possible to learn to how to manage it. You're not alone in this, and you're definitely not the only one struggling with these thoughts. There are ways to move forward. I want to leave you with this. Take one small step today. Maybe it's pausing when you feel overwhelmed or challenging one negative thought, and take a moment to reflect. What's one thing you want to improve in your life? Because small steps really do lead to big changes over time. Thank you for taking the time to be a part of my journey. I hope my experience helps you overcome your overthinking, stress, and mental health challenges.